again. And then you throw Earl Campbell's name on top of this, the NFL legend. Nah, there's no pressure there. This is a 1940 F100. How's this thing ride? Like a buck horse? Looking at this frame, there's just no saving it. Just turned into a full frame makeover. Some things snowball. This is pretty much an avalanche. Check this thing out.
Ah, there we go.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
You know, you pick up, you expect to go get a car, a whole car. As you can see, this definitely isn't the case. We have a body, frame, and parts. Crates and crates of parts. Apparently, whoever had this car last took it apart and didn't really know what to do, how to finish this. God, dog, there's some shit in here. You know, it's not like this project isn't out of our realm, but in a situation like this, you don't know what you got until you really start putting this thing together and seeing what you don't have. You know, a project this size is a lot of work, but no matter what we have to do, it's all going to be worth it, especially for the client we're building for here. Man, you told me you had a 1949 Cadillac. I got boxes of a 1949 Cadillac.
Well,
Earl Campbell was maybe one of the toughest players I've ever seen.
Born and played in Texas, around Houston, he's more than a Hall of Famer. He's a legend.
I tell you, Reno, I'm here because after I saw Slim Thug, that Cadillac you did, so I better get that 49 on over here. I like the color wheels, I like the stands, I like that air suspension on it. And when I get there, this is who can build my 49 Cadillac.
Hey, I was real good at putting those models together when I was a kid.
Yeah, so I think you can do it.
Yeah.
If you did that with Slim Thugs, I've seen that. You can kind of handle that.
We can take your 1949 and make this just as cool and custom. You know, we've been watching you for years and years, me and my dad. I mean, there's history there.
It's going to
be cool.
That's great. Thank you guys very much.
Heck yeah. You know, Earl really liked Slim's car, but at least it rolled in as a complete car. Now this, just parts, we definitely got our work cut out for it. How crazy can we get with this?
Well, I will say this. I think an LS engine has to be part of it.
There you go.
I like that air suspension on it. And pull up and let it come down.
There you go.
I'm looking forward to riding on that too.
I know you got to be looking good around here in Houston in that car, man. What are you seeing in this old Cadillac?
Let me tell you this. I like black cars. So that 49 got to be black.
What do you think about the interior ideas?
Inside of it is going to be the Texas orange. I was number 20 at UT. Of course, that's on one burnt orange. So I figured I could bring you a number 20 jersey.
You know what the black opens?
Ooh, it's hot. I'm going to use more.
That's plenty. Plenty.
Keeping all this together is real critical, especially like on a 49 Cadillac. You don't just find passenger door parts just at your hardware store.
You know, most of the time when a car comes in, it's complete. Then you take it apart and you start building. In this case, all the parts are crammed in the car, crammed in boxes, crammed everywhere. We don't know what we're even working with. So first things first, we have to lay it all out and to see where to start with this whole puzzle. This is my first time ever putting a 49 Cadillac together. And we don't even know if all the pieces are there. So that's what we're figuring out now. How many pieces we're missing so we can start assembling the car.
Ryan just to really see what we're looking like. We have to build the car in order to take the car apart to build the car again. So, you know, we're already 10 steps back. I'll throw Earl Campbell's name on top of this. Nah, there's no pressure there. What up, fellas?
What up, man?
What's happening?
You ready to get this thing going?
Mm-hmm. We're just talking about how the front end made a huge difference on this car.
Man, it's a cool car. Cool body style, the 49 Cadillac. You know, we've never built one of these, but, you know, ain't no problem.
Nah.
It's a real cool car for a real cool guy that I'm honored to be able to get to work on this car for him. What I want to do is build something just unique to show everyone this is how Extensive does it. Full custom chassis, air suspension, and the biggest wheel possible on this thing. Full custom interior, wants to bring his Texas colors inside the car. You know how we do.
Oh, yeah.
We got to put some power in this thing. I want him to get behind the wheel and just keep scared for a minute. You know what I mean? The end result is just going to be, wow.
Yeah.
That's what we want. Let's put a little bit more of the car together to really see what we're working with. The little stuff, we're not a restoration shop, so we're not trying to put every part and piece back on this thing the way it came from the factory. We're in the making cool-ass car business, and that's what we're going to do. So first things first, let's get this up at a good working height, the front fenders. We'll start building chassis. Y'all ready to get to it?
Let's do it. Yeah, dude. As you can see, I got a nice little rust patch here, same as the other side. I just grinded it just so I can see how much of it was good and what was bad. As you can see, this is just built up rust from over the years. This is where all the water sits, you know? It's everything that runs down the car on the inside and everything. Water has no other where to go. It sits there and it just sits and sits and sits and ends up eating through everything. And this is a common place for rust repair. This, cab corners, anything like that, very typical. See, this thing is pretty pitted and rusted up. I'm going to cut it out and replace this as well. Alright, so I got the old rusty piece cut out, and as you can see how everything is like real pitted and real nasty, and you even got holes here. All that comes through on the backside. Even if you were to blast this, epoxy it, Bond up.
The body on Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac, we're designing and making a one-off frame. You know, anytime we're starting a chassis, the first thing we do is determine where the ground is going to sit. Pull it tight, just real quick. You know, 9 times out of 10, we want those things flat on the ground. So we build the frame tucked up underneath the car. That way it can ride lower, sit lower, just overall look cooler. Use a string line to simulate where the ground's going to be. So that's what we're doing right now to figure out a couple little clearance measurements, and then we'll kind of go from there to get a game plan on the frame. 1/4 inch back. Okay, that is center. The next thing we measure for is length. So we determine where we want the end of the frame, 37 1/4. And just come up with all them measurements, transfer it to the table. So we'll have all our templates to go cut our material. Last little piece there, we're ready to start cutting. Not every project comes into the shop in pieces like Earl's Caddy, thank goodness. But sometimes we get the complete opposite. A truck that looks almost that mattered. Hey, good morning.
Hello, Bill. Chris, how you doing?
Hey, nice to meet you. It's a cool little truck you got. This is a 1940 F100 Ford pickup. Whoever worked on this before kept its original styling, but still gave it a little custom look.
Had it about 4 years now. Bought it from a friend of mine out of Dallas. Wife always liked farm trucks, and he had one.
It's a cool looking truck. It's definitely got the farm feel here. Did you buy this, you know, just like this?
Pretty much. The only thing I've done is put tires on it.
So you've been driving it pretty regularly?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
We put thousands of miles on it, using it to go on car show trips. Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi.
Think pretty comfortable inside?
Not at all.
Yeah, I can definitely see what you mean. It's cramped in here. It must be brutal riding this thing across the country.
It is. For the driver, it's pretty bad. Definitely kills your back.
What we need to do, Chris, is just tear everything in here out and just start over. Let's maximize every inch of space and give you as much room as possible so we can make it as comfortable for you as can be.
Right.
How's this thing ride?
Like a buck horse. So that's a problem too.
You and your wife have been traveling, putting yourself through that misery.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Air suspension on this thing just solve all those issues.
Good, that's what we're looking for.
Chris, what you got back here?
Well, that's a Ford with the heartbeat of a Chevy.
What do you got in the hood of this thing?
Man, it's an old Chevy 327.
Let's check it out. Oh, small block, huh?
Yeah.
You know, most people like to keep that secret, but old Chris is proud of it. He likes that Chevy heartbeat in the Ford truck. How's this thing run?
Well, it runs okay, but it definitely has a drinking problem. I don't have to change oil, I just add it at every trip.
Well, there's a couple ways we can do this. We can just do a little surgery on this thing, freshen it up, or just do a total transplant and just pull this thing out. Just putting a late model LS in this thing, something really dependable with a lot of power, to be real cool in it.
That'll work. I was thinking about rebuilding this motor, but you might as well just go all the way, replace the motor, and that way it's more dependable, easy ride, and I still have the Ford and the Chevy all in one.
Let's go make it happen.
All right.
And when a truck like this comes in, you just think, man, that's cool. I mean, this truck is 70 years old, probably not around anymore. Man, it's really cool to get this in and keep people interested in vehicles like this and being able to put our own spin on it to even make it even cooler for the next generation to see and, you know, and interest them. You know, Chris has been in the rules a little bit, putting a Chevy engine in a Ford truck, but there's no rules to custom. You can change stuff, you can add this, add that, do it however you want it. That's the definition of custom. If Chris wants a Chevy engine on the Ford, we're going to give him exactly what he wants and then some.
So just so you guys know, I spotted something. That's a Chevy and a Ford. We're replacing the motor, right?
We're replacing the motor, but we're replacing it with the Chevy.
So Chris likes being the guy known to drive a Ford with a Chevy motor?
That's his deal. That's what everybody knows him by.
I can't say I blame the guy. You know? I mean, really. What else are we doing to this thing besides changing the heartbeat with another heartbeat?
Chris and his wife go to car shows all over the country. They travel in this. They don't trailer it. They get in it and they drive this thing to ride good, look good when it's parked. Not only that, we need to build a bigger fuel cell for him, something that they don't have to stop every 200 miles and get fuel.
Gotcha.
They only want to stop when they want to stop, not when they have to stop.
All right, so let me chase down a previously loved GM power plant. You do that, we're going to rip the front end off, get the motor and trans out, and we'll let you know if we need anything else.
Let's do it.
Wait on you, man.
You know, that old suspension didn't age well. Jamie and Ryan are going to cut all that out
And make room for that new air suspension, adding a notch on the frame for that rear end.
Wow, so no wonder this guy was having a bumpy ride. Looks like they cut the springs and put these little tensioners in there. That's a quick fix. So I actually grew up in a household with my dad. He was in the hot rods, and he's got nothing but old Fords, and every one of them has big block Chevrolets in them. So this is really common for me. This is kind of childhood right here with a Chevrolet motor and a Ford. Pretty familiar. Oh, man, it looks pretty clean around here.
Yeah, dude, it's not too bad, actually.
See why we want to change this out. It's pretty small.
It is pretty small.
Yeah.
You really don't see those mufflers no more. That's cool that he went his own little route with it.
Yeah.
Let's tear it all apart, man. Let's do it.
forward right here. So our next step is go ahead and put the notch in. Basically, we got to make this off this notch, match the bottom of this door, so we're going to make sure everything looks parallel.
31 7/16
on the money. Then go ahead and tack it. Then do the same thing on the other side.
So now that we got our notch plates tacked in and everything is right where we want it, we're gonna make all of our filler plates now. We want the structure there, so we'll put this, plate it, tack it in, and weld it all before we cut the centers out. You don't ever wanna just put your notches in there and then cut it out right away because you have no structure and the frame could buckle, move all over the place, and do its own thing. So now I can go ahead and cut the center part out. I just gotta add some fillers, weld it out, and the notch is done. And that's how you knock out a notch.
Pulling out the old engine on the 1940 Ford, full front end is, and it's really bad. Man, I've been thinking about which way to go with this, and this just, we can't build around this.
Yeah.
No matter what we do, this is still going to be here.
Yeah.
We got to cut all this out of the way. Let's save this part of the frame.
Okay.
You know, go back in with the filler in here and make it look like it hadn't been touched. Like this part of the frame is brand new.
Right.
And then we'll start from there.
Sounds
we'll
good.
get our new cross member in here. Then we can put our engine in.
Everything that we got here is just complete crap. It's bent, it's old, it's poorly fabricated. It's not gonna work with what we're doing. So I'm gonna cut everything out and start from scratch.
You know, I'm looking at this frame and just seeing all the dead ends we're gonna hit. Every roadblock, every step down the way. There's just no saving it. You know, it's going to be best for us just to think totally outside the box and make something a lot better. Rebuilding the front of this frame is definitely going to make it a lot stronger and save us a whole lot of headaches in the future.
All right, everything's fit up, looking real good. It's just grind it all up and we'll be ready for our cross member. I need to grind this so I can get a good weld. Gotta get all these tacks did. So I got all the welding done. I'm just gonna grind these welds down. Once I'm done, these front horns will look brand new. And then we can move on to the cross member. All right, I'm done. I'm going home.
Of a ground up build like this 49 Caddy, I think from the ground up. Hand making a frame lets us personalize the vehicle totally to the person, bottom to the top. You know, it's a huge honor to get to build something for the legend Earl Campbell. You know, we build a lot of frames, but we're really gonna do what we can to make this special, you know, not only for Extensive, but for Earl himself. Here's him running over everybody in the NFL. We're gonna build a frame that strong. Good. Now we have this all tightened down flat against the table. You can see we have a nice little gap in between the tubing. It looks like a bad fit, but you know, my preference is having that 3/16 gap in between each intersection of the tubing. That way we can weld that thing back and forth and not have to have a huge bevel or worry about penetration. Once this is welded, you know it's going to stay there forever. All right. All finished up with the vertical weld. We're going to let this thing cool off. Then we can bust it apart, stand it, start building cross members. It's good. It's still a little warm, man, but it'll be good. Let's do it. Because we make our parts on site, as soon as we think it, we start making it to the exact dimensions we need. You know, that's the total definition of custom. Immediate immediate satisfaction. You know, Earl's car, we're going to be using a 2-link suspension, which is a 2x2 square tubing linked from the hanger to the axle. That's why it's called 1997. I've been using it on about 80% of our vehicles since day one. It's ideal for a car like Earl's, so we can get it really low and still get a lot of lift out of it, and it improves the handling for about 85% over the factory also. So this is the perfect suspension for this job. You know, one thing pretty unique to the 2-link itself is we're still using U-bolts. It's still going to connect the U-bolts to the axle to hold this all super tight. We'll use a piece of DOM and we weld it onto the link bar itself, so we don't have a traditional little anchor plate at the bottom. Using the DOM to the side of the link bar, it keeps everything super tight and it adds a little style to it also. Cool, we got the link bars all mocked up. Now it's time to get underneath there and mock up the suspension. See if it fits now. 2 links are in. Last little bit is making a cross member to hang the 2 links onto, and that holds the whole rear suspension of the car. After that, bag mounts, shock mounts, diagonal link, we're ready to put it under the car. We finished the metalwork on the custom chassis and suspension for the 49 Cadillac. We got the bag mounts in, link bars in, suspension's done other than shocks. Shoot, we're ready to put this thing in the car. Now we're going to connect the frame to the front cross member and the core support. You know, we got the frame all attached to the body back here, so we know it's not going to go anywhere. So the next step, let's run our string line so we know where the center is. That's definitely a little forward. Let's start putting our front cross member up here. Get that all centered level. We'll start building from there all the way back and tie it in and tie right into the front. It's a done dilly.
Now we have the right angles where they connect. What we're doing now is making it go from a 5-inch frame to a 3-inch frame on top of the cross member. So we're having to basically pie a section out of it. So now what we have here is we have this piece cut down to match the 5-inch frame and the 3-inch frame rail. So what we'll do is we'll put this cap on top. We'll weld the sides to the cross member. Now we have this all tacked into place. We'll finish welding it out. We'll sand it down with a big pad. You'll never know it was cut. It'll transition from a 5-inch frame to a 3-inch frame and fit perfectly on the frame.
Step 198 complete. We got the front rails connecting to the cross member. Next step is weld this out. Then step 199 in the frame building process is connecting it to the core support mount part of the frame. So after that's done, frame's 100% complete. Just like the customer asked, we got that new Chevy engine for the 40 Ford. Okay. Because it's a new engine and trans, we just want to make sure this thing fits perfect. Got our engine in place. What should have been a quick air suspension job just turned into a full frame makeover, cutting out parts and pieces of the frame that should have never been damaged in the first place, building a new cross member, and just slicking the whole frame, making it look brand new. With all the metal work we done on this truck, the interior, I asked Keith to make it custom.
All right, we got the 44 door panel all shaped out. We've got all the foam work done. Now I just need to disassemble it, get it wrapped up. We're gonna use the same materials and do some sculpting, but still have that modern hot rod type feel on this old truck. Try to cut it to where you're taking out the bulk of the material, but you can come back and trim later. But this is another technique that I do that most trimmers don't do. I just kind of bunch it up around the corners. I come in close, trim it with my knife. I melt the ends, and so it actually helps stick it down and gets rid of all these little bumps. I figured this method out myself. Now, we see we got this part wrapped. We'll move on to the other pieces. Down inside there. Just kind of stick it down. And then I try to manually, just with my hand, kind of tuck it in as much as I can. But then now you take this tool and just slowly run it through. Some people call these a no-sew pleat. I call it a heath roll. You know, it's not like this process is super difficult. It's just paying attention to the details. It's the little things that make a difference. Anything I build, I try to put a lot of little details into. Out of the line, all the way down. This is where you have to have a steady hand. Most people don't feel comfortable doing this freehand. I don't feel comfortable with a straight edge. You can be very careful with this foam. It can just rip off a chunk out of nowhere sometimes. It'll make you mad enough to throw it across the room. All right, we got the base panel wrapped. Now what we're gonna do is take this cool material. Being that it's an older vehicle, I wanted to bring fabric into it instead of everything being a vinyl or leather. It looks great, man. It came out looking real good. I like the fabric in there, along with the black to tie into the rest of the vehicle. It still has that old school feel to it, but it looks new.
You know, we get a lot of jobs in, sometimes in and out, sometimes take forever. This job was supposed to be engine, trans, air suspension, out the door. Well, some things snowball, and this is pretty much an avalanche. For starters, the master cylinder was all up underneath the bottom from the factory, so that's all in the way. So, you know, the wiring just looks like a bird nest underneath here. There's no way to tie in our wiring to this and to make it reliable. I mean, we could hit a bump and short out everything underneath this thing. You know, there's just problem after problem all in here. So we got to rip everything out and put everything in brand new. We didn't plan on working on the firewall, the trans tunnel, the floor on the 40 Ford. But we can't let this thing leave the shop looking like it did. You know, we always expect the unexpected, but it always hurts.
Okay, that was the last of the wiring. The AC out, all the wiring, the column. So now this thing's not a trash wagon. We got all the garbage out of it. The next step I'm gonna do is go ahead and fill in all these holes in the firewall and make it beautiful again. Look at this. This is flimsy. This is not really good metal. So I'm gonna cut it out. What I'm doing right now is just making my rough template. Let's transfer this over to sheet metal. Once I do that, I can go ahead and trim, you know, do what I need to do to get the piece to fit properly. Roll it, fill it in. Yeah, no, this is riddled. All this needs to go. Start from scratch. Put fillet welds on them. I'm gonna make it nice, clean, and smooth. Around these bigger holes, I'm gonna have to make sheet metal fillets. Take care of this, make it look beautiful. We got this nice new motor in here. Make everything nice and clean.
All right, so the next step is do the transmission tunnel. We're gonna try to make this as low as possible and as small as possible. And go over to the shear, to the brake, bend it, and roll it, and twist it, and pinch it, and poke it. Sometimes you gotta dance on that metal. You gotta let it know who the real moneymaker is. The roll is like just dead on the money. So, probably gonna get some cardboard and a marker and make me a template and transfer it here to the tunnel and just start trimming and cutting and trimming. And cutting and trimming some more.
Looks nice.
Yeah, I gotta do some more cutting.
Well, trying to give the benefit of the doubt. That side looks real good.
Got the transmission tunnel tacked into place. What I'm gonna do is just take some sheet metal, fill in this patch back here.
How's it looking in here?
It's looking looking all right. Slowly stabbing away at this thing.
Man, it looks real good. It's mounted nice. No holes in the floor. I like that. It looks safe now.
Yeah.
So just make sure you got as much room as possible in here. We want the seat as far back as we can in this thing. The long trips that get old all cramped up.
No doubt.
So I know you got this.
Right on. Appreciate it. So I gotta scrape all this dynamite out of the way. That way I can get a clean surface so I can weld to. So I'm taking a few measurements. I'm making me some angles. Get some bracketry in here.
I mean, my grandfather told me one time that if someone else can do it, so can you.
Sure.
I've always took that with me and always push myself further and further. I want to always step it up some and do something different out of the box.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about working here. It's like every day we come in, it's like, oh, I was working on this truck yesterday.
Boom,
Yeah.
you're over there.
We're over on this car now.
Everybody's got their own little niche. I pick up things from you. I pick up things from John, or we're working with Bill side by side.
Vice versa. It's a real team. Some people, they wake up every day and they go to that same cookie cutter job, doing the same exact thing every single day, that repetition. And it's just like, that's not for me. That desk job, cubicle, whatever it might be. I like this. I like, this is me.
I agree.
When Chris drove up in his 1940 Ford, this thing looked in real good shape. But we ended up having to do a lot more metal work to the frame and the cab than we planned.
Just got the frame back to powder coat. Everything looks nice and gloss black. Took a lot of hard work for me and Ryan to get the frame to look like this. Everything looks good. All the welds look good. So now it's time to go ahead and put it all back together.
We're almost there. We're painting the dash, color matching the engine.
With this million clips. That looks good.
Fuel cell, new air suspension, and we definitely couldn't let him drive out missing the wiper blade. Not every easy job is easy. Sometimes the easy jobs just snowball into huge ones. This is a prime example. To get the job done right, sometimes it just takes a little extra work. In this case, a lot of extra work. I know when they see it, they're going to be super happy with what we've done. Today we're out in Old Town Spring. We're going to give Chris and Deborah their 1940 Ford back. Hey, what a great place, huh?
Ah, it's awesome.
Old Town
Awesome
Spring
place.
just gives you that old feel that just it just fits the truck, right?
Exactly. Perfect.
Well, let's check this thing out. I'm going to get Ryan to bring it around right now.
Okay. And
Oh my gosh, it looks fantastic.
like the nailed to ride.
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds perfect. Sounds
Yeah.
perfect. There we go. There you go,
Cool.
Bill. That's the look I want.
I've never seen an old truck do that before.
What y'all think?
Is it low enough?
Get much lower than that.
That just changes the whole attitude when this thing sits on the ground like that, right?
It does. That's the wow factor.
You guys want to check out under the hood?
Sure.
I know you've been waiting on that.
Oh yeah.
You pop it, Ryan?
Yeah, I get you. You ready for this?
Yeah. Whoa, okay. Some Chevy in there.
As you can see, that old tired 350's gone.
It's gone.
We have a new late model 6.0 in this thing, so it's got plenty of power. It's efficient, and it looks good.
When he opened the hood of that truck, I knew I was getting a new engine, but wow.
Truck may be a country girl, but she's got some city slicker shine inside.
How'd you get that in there?
Right? Right? We pulled the frame completely out and powder coated it. Made all new little brackets. It looks really, really nice from up underneath. And as you can see, brand new air suspension. That's all been powder coated too.
It looks gorgeous.
Man, it looks
gorgeous.
We're definitely proud of it. Let's check out the interior.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Man, Bill. That's plush. That'll handle a long trip.
That is beautiful. Looks fantastic.
Those seats, just scooting them back and recovering them just wasn't going to cut it.
Right.
So we just ended up stripping the whole interior. There was license plates crammed up in here, all inside to make patches on top of patches on top of patches on the
Oh, my
floor.
goodness. Wow.
So we addressed all that to start with, replacing all the sheet metal.
Wow.
We got the new center console, repainted the dash, upgraded the
very
gauges. Got everything is all brand new.
It's all brand new.
100% brand new. And of course, we got that other wiper blade on there.
Yes, definitely. Had to have that.
Thank
Right?
you. As a passenger, thank you.
It's gonna be fun riding.
It is.
Right.
It definitely is.
What Bill's done now is just amazing, and definitely something that will last, well, probably our lifetime.
Yeah.
It's perfect. Perfect.
Hope you guys have, many happy years with it.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate it.
I can tell by the look on their faces, this is definitely what they wanted. They just didn't even know it. With all that extra work involved, it's days like today that really pay off to make a customer a happy customer.
They left the back side on Ford with the heartbeat of a Chevy. That's us.
That's us.
Really appreciate that they took care of this truck like it was their own, and they made it better.
They dropped it to the floor. That was just amazing. Can't wait to get it on the road, put some miles on it, and win some trophies at some shows.
Back in the day, Earl Campbell was one of the best football players and the toughest that anybody's ever seen. We're going to get him an engine to this 49 Caddy that's up to his standards. A brand new LSX 454 with over 600 horsepower. Now that we've built a custom chassis, suspension, and fixed all the body, we got to make space for this engine. Man, this definitely isn't going to work. Well, the problem is, no room to mount our upper control arms. All this core support's in our way. I guess this is the old school crumple zone. So the best course of action, cut all this completely out of the way. You'll have more room for the radiator, have more room for the wheel, have more room for the upper control arm, have more room for the power steering lines. It's a win, 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 win. Then we'll go back in and weld some support back in this thing and make it look cool while we're doing it.
Make everything way easier.
That's it. Let's get to chopping.
My specialty.
This is a big build and then some. We definitely have our work cut out for us. As a kid working on this build for the Earl Campbell. He's given a lot to this city. I think I'm speaking for all the guys at the shop. We cannot gonna be built like a tank.
We heard on the street they was up to something. We had to come check it out. This is gonna be crazy, man. I can't wait to see this, man.
Customizing a delivery van definitely has some challenges, but this is actually gonna change Dave's life.
They told me it can't be done.
You're in the right spot.
Beautiful.
Ryan, bring it on in.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
When I first seen her, I thought it would have been better off if I just would have turned that thing away, but that's not what Extensive is about. We like the challenge. We like, when somebody comes in and says you can't do that, that's more reason to do it. I don't know if it's where I'm from or what, but there's something inside me that just doesn't like to be told that's too hard. This is too much work. Thinking too big. When I hear stuff like that, that's just when it's time to get to work. Going through and putting this car together, that's when you really start to get the ideas of making this thing different from all the other Cadillacs around. If you're only going to do the easy jobs, there's never a challenge. What's the point? We're in the dream-making business. So that's what we're about to do on Earl's right now.
Pretty cool working on this Cadillac, man. I've been around Cadillacs pretty much my whole life, mostly in my scene, in the lowrider scene.
Man, a Cadillac's one of them cars that's always going to stand the test of time. It's got the name. It's made for the king.
A famous car for a famous NFL player, Earl Campbell,
Y'all talking about the Cadillac?
Oh, yes.
Man, you remember when this thing came in? I was getting a little nervous when it started rolling in and rolling in and rolling in and rolling in, right? You know, parts on a wrecker, trailer, in the car for Earl Campbell. You can't not get him hooked up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now I just need to finish it.
You know, we've already got the new frame underneath this thing. The body's all mounted to the frame with the custom air suspension. The rust is all repaired. This thing's really starting to look like something now. I'm getting excited. Time to put that new engine in, a brand new LSX for this thing. So he's got plenty of power.
Can't believe we're putting LSX in it. Mm-hmm. That's going to be awesome.
You know, in the engine compartment too, I want to redo the firewall. Give him a nice bead rolled firewall, something that looks totally different, right? And not only new firewall, I want new sheet metal, nice fender wells that roll down and kind of mold to the firewall. And when Earl sees this thing, I really want him to go, man, this is cool. John, I know you worked on a lot of Cadillacs, buddy. You got room for one more, huh?
One more.
All right. I'm going to go get this engine. Let's get going. All right.
I never drove a Cadillac with air suspension, but I drove a Cadillac with hydraulics. It's beautiful. I'd love to take this thing out for a ride.
You know, Earl Campbell's a Hall of Famer, but before that, he was just a kid from Texas. He used his God-given talents to do things that nobody special as he is. Every piece of metal work we're going to do on this Caddy is going to have design details in places most folks will never even see.
We're going to take the time to make this engine bay look really good, just as good as the outside of the car. So what we're going to do is make a really nice tub and make it look like all one piece. That way it kind of fills in this engine bay, but not so much where you're going to hide the motor. We want the motor with as much visibility as possible. That's the heart of the car. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make this filler panel here, but I'm going to make it look cool. It's just not going to be no flat piece that's going to come down from the top to the bottom. I'm going to make it roll out and then roll back down and give it a little style, you know? Make it look cool, just like the car is. Now we got this nice pretty piece tacked in place. I can continue rolling this on another panel to come all the way down. Now the easiest way to hold this in place without tacking it is to use this little thing called a Kiko. This is similar to a removable rivet, I guess you would call it. I don't want to tack it in place yet because I might have to remove it when I mess with the firewall. So all those little Kikos hold that in place, and these flat bars make it flush with the other pieces of the firewall. We can get these out of the way since they're just Kikoed in. Cool thing about working on such a large car and this big engine bay, it's gonna be a lot of fun to fill this space with something cool and custom.
I'm not sure if you've seen old footage of Earl Campbell running with a football, but man, he was fast, powerful, and just mean. He didn't run from a hit, he just dished them out. So we want an engine that runs just as powerful as old Earl did back in the day. Well, almost as much. What's up, Brian?
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Man, good.
All right. You here to pick up that new engine?
You know it.
And this is that one for that 49 Caddy, right?
Man, you know we need a lot of power in that thing. Big,
Yes,
heavy
sir.
Cadillac like that.
The one who towed Earl Campbell around in?
Yep.
Well, here comes your engine right here.
Man, let's check this thing out. Man, this is exactly what we need for old Earl. Small package and a big punch. What's the horsepower on this?
627 and 586 foot-pounds of torque.
Man.
Well, I know you're going to be happy with it, and I hope Earl Campbell will be happy with.
Start building around it. This LSX is just a power plant to have, much like the old 454s that were in all the hot rods back in the day. The LSX is much lighter, a lot smaller, and more efficient than the original, but with a ton of power. This engine is definitely the one to put in a build like this. Engine's in before lunch! Looks pretty dang good.
Just one spoiled Cadillac, huh?
Right? You know, most of the time the engine compartments are so crammed you don't really get to see everything in it. Man, this thing is put a V12 in this thing. You know, on the firewall too, man. We have so much room, we don't even have to notch it for the transmission tunnel. And I love this design you have here. And how about we incorporate this into the firewall itself, so come down and have that 3D look too. You know, John and I are old school fabricators. So with the metal work on this car, we're definitely not using a computer. We take what's in our heads and make it with our hands. Man, I know this is becoming one of your favorites. Got to.
Yeah, sure is, Con.
Me too. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that gives us room for ideas.
We kind of got an idea of what we want to do on this firewall to make it match these inner fenders. Thinking of it is cool, but doing it is a whole different ball game. So it's going to take me a little time to figure out all these angles. Got to do it right the first time. If not, we got to start all over from the beginning. So measure it, calculate before I start bending. A lot of bends. This is the radius that we got on the inner fender. This is the piece that's going to go across the bottom of the firewall. And I just want to try to get them to match. We want to keep that same radius throughout the whole engine bay. It's kind of hard because there's like a million things going on in here at once. Playing a little game of small cuts. Cutting a little bit at a time till it fits in place right. Because if you cut too much, then you got a big hole you got to fill. And it'll fit right in there just the way we want. Now that the lower road part of the firewall's in, it's time to make the top part of the firewall. I'm going to trace the shape of the cowl onto the panel, cut it out, slap it back on there, and then we're going to design what we're going to bead roll on here. We'll be able to get rolling. About that.
I love it. I love that rolled edge, how it goes around. That really helps out. How about something with a V pattern here in the core support? So that just makes sense to carry that on through. The letter V has been a design element on Caddies as long as I can remember. So on Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac, we're putting subtle V touches everywhere, including the firewall. I think it'll play in all together with the whole design of the engine compartment. I think something like that. You know, of course, we want to lay it out a little better, a little more square, but...
Oh, you want it straight?
Yeah.
I removed the panel from the firewall, and all I'm doing is straightening out all the lines that we rough sketched in here, make everything even all the way around. I'm going to draw me out some straight lines that I'm going to follow with the rolls on the bead roller. Little tip. Take your time, roll it slow so you can follow your line straight. You roll it too fast and you get a little wiggly, you'll see it in your roll. So you gotta have some patience. If not, we gotta start all over. I think that looks pretty damn good. And we're ready to tack this thing in place. An original Cadillac symbol, meaning V8, fits the car really well, especially having this nice LSX 454 in the engine compartment. Make it feel at home.
Not every build that comes through here is going to be for someone as famous as Earl. No matter what the build, we always put in the same passion and talent. Because of that person, their build, big or small, is the most important thing in the world to them. You know, when a white Sprinter van pulls up to the shop, you automatically think you're getting a package. But in this case, it's going to be a very important build. You know, we're super busy right now. But when Dave and his family called me out of the blue, I told them to come on over, I'll take a look. How you doing?
Doing good. How about yourself? Doing good.
What's happening?
Thank you, Mr. Bill.
What y'all got going on today?
Well, last September, I bought me a 2017 Mercedes Sprinter, and it is very, very difficult for me to get in. I come from a motocross background, started when I was 4 years old. And at the age of 31, I was out at Three Palms and came up short. Actually, didn't come up short. I just went over the bars. And that was the end of that.
So that's what put you in the chair.
That's what put me in the chair. The end goal is from a seat.
And what you need is it down on the ground so you can get in and drive this thing.
Absolutely. So the way the van sits right now and as high as it is, it's too difficult for my family to be putting me in and out. And so it's time. It's been 16 years
and it's time for me to drive myself. I've searched around quite a bit, took it to several different shops, was asking about putting it on bags, and they told me it can't be done. They just said they don't do it when I asked to drop it, and here I am.
We were told no so many times, and Dave Jr. said, "Hey, Dad, I heard about this guy. I think he can do it."
You're in the right spot.
I hear you.
Like to hear. I have friends that race. I love off-roading too. You know, of course, when you hear a story like this, you just want to get in and help. You know, anything we can do to make his life better, we're definitely going to do it. I see these Mercedes Sprinter vans everywhere because even though it doesn't look super cool, this 2017 has a super efficient diesel and it has tons of space to put whatever you want in it. Now let's check this thing out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely see the height here. You'd have to have a 20-foot ramp to get up in this thing easily.
Yeah.
You need this thing down the ground so you can have a ramp go up in it.
A ramp would be nice. A ramp would be really nice.
When you're in it, you need that chair out of the way so you can pull up into
what
it.
I would like is for the front seat to swivel. You know, I don't want to drive from a power chair. Plus, I don't like it. Seems like it's just super dangerous to me.
We definitely got you on that.
That sounds great.
So you have a motocross history. You like cool stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
We got to get rid of this delivery van look, man.
Yeah, it looks pretty much like a cargo van.
So what do you think about wrapping this thing, putting some cool wheels and tires on it, dropping it? This thing is going to look cool.
I just want to be part of the family, bud.
That's it.
Hey, if you can put one truck that high up in the air, I got faith that you can put one on the ground.
Oh, we're going to do it.
Dude, you're going to make me pass out, man. I have full confidence that these guys have it, and, I mean, I'm just ready. I'm just excited. I can't wait.
All right, man, let's go make it happen.
Let's do it.
Customize a lot of vehicles at the shop, but you know, a Sprinter van is definitely lower on the list of sought after vehicles. You know, customize some challenges. We got a work cut out for us for that, of not only serving a purpose to help Dave in his life to make it easier, but he wants something cool also. We do builds all the time at Extensive. We get them in, out every day. You know, this project right here is a little more special. I mean, this is actually going to change Dave's life.
Why do you have a delivery van?
No, man, we're not fixing a delivery van. Customer's name's Dave. You know, he had a motocross accident, so he's in the wheelchair. So what we're going to try to do is give him that freedom, independence back to do what he needs to do. But it needs to look cool, too.
Yeah, we can take care of that. It's our business.
That's it, man. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put some air suspension on this thing to drop this thing down to the ground. So we're going to pull out the leaf springs in the rear, you know, clean all the axle off and build the 2 links for the rear. Get it super low.
No doubt.
Same with the front. Put in all the new compressors, tanks, the whole nine.
So we're trying to give him something else back that's a lot of fun that he can do on his own and have a good time.
Exactly. Not only to the van. So we're going to install a wheelchair ramp that shoots out the side of this thing. Dave can ride right in himself and do his thing. Once we figure out the ramp situation, the next thing we're going to tackle the custom driver's seat. So he can put himself in the chair, spin himself right around, go on about his day, and have that independence back.
Super convenient. So you going to stick with the smuggler look, the all white, or are we doing something cooler?
No delivery van. No, we're going to definitely, you know, it's got the motocross background. He needs to have that cool feeling of riding around also. So we're going to start out wrapping this thing, and then we're going to finish it off with some really cool wheels.
Awesome. It's a little bit out of the ordinary, but it's going to be pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Well, I'm ready to get started on this thing. Let's get it on the 2 posts. Knock this thing out, man.
Sounds good, man. You know, lowering this van to the ground is going to look awesome. So we're going to change up the rear suspension on this van. We're going to change it over to a 2-link. So I'm going to take these leaf springs out, the shocks. But I'm going to start stripping this stuff off and get to business. All right, now I got all that taken apart. It's time to get these leaf springs out. We're gonna need as much space as, now that I have everything out of my way, I'm gonna take this little 1/2 inch out, and that's a 1/2 inch lower that we're gonna be.
This van has a steel unibody, which means the frame is built into the body. Luckily, we have just enough room to fit the air suspension, so we don't have to cut notches, which is cool. It saves us a lot of work. We got the big springs out of the way. That's going to let this thing sit way low to the ground. You know, we're not going to cut the floor, not going to do a C-notch, so we're just going to set the axle right on the unibody itself. So it's going to be super low and have perfect angle for that ramp.
Is that a 22 going on here? 24.
He said 22.
It's really getting a 24 for us. Oh, it's freaking huge.
It's not every day we get to work on a 2017 Sprinter, but also it's not every day we get to change someone's life. Putting this van on air suspension is going to get Dave that much closer to driving.
Since the sheet metal on these rear tubs is so thin, it's not as solid as we like. So we're gonna add some structure into this thing. We're gonna brace the frame, brace the bottom of the floor, and we're also gonna put a little plate here. We can through bolt it. Everything's working with each other here. Nothing's working against each other. It's like with as much weight as it's gonna be carrying and the load and the sway and everything, it needs to be structurally sound. I came at the perfect time.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Thank you, buddy.
There you go. You can go ahead and clean them up.
It's hot. Watch out. What I'm doing is trying to get this 90-degree angle right on the money. And then the next one, you just hammer down on the pedal. That doesn't work for you. Perfect. Back to the van. It's right on the money. It's exactly what we wanted. Now we can punch some holes in this. Connect the dots, and now we're one step closer to having the rear suspension built. Now that we got our plates made, you can see everything kind of coming together. And we can through bolt it to the inside of the cab, put a backing plate on the other side, and you get a little bit more structure out of it that way. Over the years, we've been known for, making kits for just about any application, any car, any truck, anything like that. But when we have builds like this or just one-off builds, we typically build, we could easily go pull something off the shelf and throw it on here and just make it work. But later on down the line, you might run into a problem. So I like to just literally make every part and piece for every single vehicle that I build. That way I know 100% that it's perfect for what we're building it for. Beautiful. Love it. And that's lunch.
And yoga has started.
Now that John's finished fabricating the engine bay on Earl's 49 Cadillac, he's going to move into the cab.
So what we're going to do is continue to firewall back over the transmission. So I'm making a trans tunnel. I'm going to make a template of how I want this end of it shaped. I never took art class, but instead of doing schoolwork, I was drawing in all my notebooks. Now we can get the end of that tunnel shape and make it flow into the floorboards. Pretty close. Now we got a whole lot of cutting to do. When you're hand building something, you're building it in place and, oh, that'll work. Everything's made to fit. First piece in, I got about 2 more to go. I know Earl's not gonna mind what his trans tunnel looks like while he's driving this car down the road, but this thing is gonna be built like a tank, and I'm sure he'll love it as much as I do.
Our next step of getting the floor sheet metal put in is locking the rear end up. This thing's got 600 plus horsepower, almost just as much torque. So we need a rear end that's really going to stand up to all that. So we got a fabricated 9-inch. Then we can build our drive shaft tunnel around the mocked up drive shaft. And then we'll start building the floor around that.
Now it's time to cut our center section out of our floor. Let's see if we can do a straight line. Now we can put our dry shaft tunnel in. Now we got the tunnel in. Pinion angle was set. What I'm gonna do is bottom out that axle so we can put our new inner tubs in.
I love adding style in a place you least expect it. You know, that's what a full build is. John's finishing up the metalwork with as many design elements as possible in the rear of the 49 Caddy.
You know, when taking apart these old cars, sometimes you gotta use your head, not only to do it right, but to hold the parts. What I did here is I got me a piece of pipe that'll fit in this axle hub, and I cut me out a piece of flat bar about the height of the tire. What I'm gonna do is use this, make me a perfect circle of where I need to cut to put our new tub in here. Now with this all opened up, move on to the other side and get that cut out. Since we had our rear end bottomed out, we know what our very top needs to be. Now we need to figure out how wide it needs to be front and back. And now we could do that same thing we just did at that height, and we will get a perfect arc at an 18-inch radius. This is all coming together real nicely. We got our fenders put back on, got them all welded out. Now we can cap the inner tubs and get our notch cover built. A custom car. You know, this could have been a flat panel, and what would we have done? You know, undercoated the car or something, bed-lined it. But now that we have this nice little design, it could be painted glossy and it'll look good. You know, it's just a little added touch to doing something that's worthwhile. One challenge we got is the notch has two crossbars from frame roll to frame roll that bow like this. So what I'm gonna do is make a template to that contour and get that template transferred onto a piece of sheet metal. I'm gonna draw me some designs and bead roll it to match what we got on the firewall. See how it looks? Would you look at that? Man, it looks real good.
For Dave, these airbags are going to lower this van, and it's totally going to help out for this ramp we're going to install. He'll be able to drive for the first time in 16 years. It's a total game changer. Wrapping it up, huh?
Yeah, you came in at the perfect time.
Always come at the perfect time. Looks real good. Thank you. All the suspension's done, huh? Line's done, electrical's done.
Yeah, dude, I got everything mounted, tucked up in here really nice and together and not all over the place. Usually we jinx ourselves saying that it's going to happen.
We're going to have one easy every once in a while, right?
They can't all be difficult all the time, huh?
No, they can. Well, cool. Let's get the wheels on and get this thing on the ground, man. Let's see what it looks like. Cool. Then we'll start working on the inside.
Yeah, buddy. All right.
All right, Ryan, let's drop this thing down. No more delivery van, right?
Nah. It's right
it looks
there
cool
on the
too.
mud flaps, man.
Right?
It's sick. Until we get them wheels on there, it's gonna look good, man.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's get this thing aired up. Let's get it on a drive-on lift so we can start building a ramp on this thing.
Sounds good, man.
The ramp needs to be installed flush with the floor, so Ryan's got to make an opening for it.
All right, so I used the framing square just to find out where my door was. We know here is our door. We're not going any further past this point. Here's the center of the actual opening of the door and everything we got. So we have this much room to work with. Our deck is 41 1/8. So within our parameters, we have a lot of room to work with, which is really good. Just triple check your measurements, because we're about to cut the entire floor of this thing out. All right, now that I have all my lines done, I'm gonna go ahead and just cut this whole section out where our ramp is gonna go. All right, so you from the inside here, where our lines are, where they're coming down, we're already planning on reboxing this whole entire frame into the unibody, and we're going to plate the side of it and then cap the top off once we're done and have everything bolted in where we need it. So just to get this whole center out of the way, cut this whole top section out, and then we have a wide open area we can work with, full measurements, and do what we got to do. It's loose? Yeah, it's loose. It's not heavy. Got it? Yeah, I got it. So now I got this big hole in the middle of this floor. I want to get the ramp in here, and I want to see exactly what we're looking like. Hey, be careful on the floor right there. See if you can hop down into the floor, onto the ground. This ramp isn't meant for this van. It's meant for like a tour bus. So what we're doing is trying to make this work for what we got, This is what we do. We're fabricators. If we can see it, we can make it happen. So what we're doing is, making it happen. And that's the job. That's what we do. I'm going to make a channel that will go over the frame rail to cap our frame rail where we cut it in half and stitch all the way down the frame rail and work our way. We're going to have to brace all this up, make a mount for this thing to actually sit on, and put some structure back into this van. Alright, now we got the main structure tacked into place. We got our frame rails boxed in, and we got the actual track that our ramp is bolted to. So really all that's left to do now is weld this up, patch some holes up, and we'll be ready to wire it up and test this thing out.
We're going to make as many parts as we can for Earl's 49 Caddy right here in the shop. However, there's a few parts we need. So when it came to the radiator, we had to have one specifically built for this job. In the shape of a V, of course.
Front of the car is exactly what this thing needed. Get all this cut out and just continue to make the little V shape here.
Hell yeah, build a support around the radiator.
Man, I've never seen a V radiator before.
Yeah, me neither. That is nice. The bottom part of the core support, which comes out all the way to the front bumper, we're gonna make that all one piece, and it gets welded to the fenders. This is gonna be one complete unit now with everything welded together. We're ready to get our radiator mocked up. We got these side pieces tacked in, which is gonna isolate where you can only view the radiator. Got that nice radiator in there. The edges need to look good too. We're gonna start forming this top part of here, so it's all one piece and structurally strong, and it looks damn cool. Make us a really nice fitment right there. Now what I'm gonna do is get that excess off. Now I got these pieces fitted in here pretty nice. Then we're gonna run us a couple bead rolls on these panels, kind of liven it up a little bit so it's not just so flat. Looks pretty good. So what I did here was I started off with maximum pressure here, and once I got to this line I drawn, which is 10 inches away from the edge, I started slowly fade out look instead of just a hard stop. Man, them lines match up perfectly. Little flavor to the front end here. Man, now we got this whole front end pretty much done. Got the groove fit in here perfect. This thing is looking really, really good.
Today's a milestone in the 49 Cadillac. After about 3 months of metal work, it's finally rolling over to the body shop.
From where it started to where it is now is a huge difference, and it's a good feeling seeing it come from the fab shop, finally going to the body shop, they can start the body and paint.
We got the ramp working on Dave's 2017 Sprinter van, but I definitely can't let it leave the shop in the delivery van white. So John and Jose wrapped the back of the van glossy black to make it look like it has a rear window, and they're wrapping the rest in a brushed black.
So the next step now is putting the razor wire on. As you can see, there's a tiny wire inside this tape. This allows me to get straight cuts whenever I put another overlapping vinyl on top. And one time to never put a blade on it, I won't be able to scratch it or damage my gloss black window.
A lot of people come to us to go get color changes. They're bored of their existing paint job and they want something new. Or certain models like Ferraris or Lamborghinis, they only come a certain color selection. Well, some clients, they want to be unique, so they do whatever it takes. They come to us, we get it done, and they're happy. And when they get tired of it, we remove it. The resale value doesn't get affected. The original paint is protected underneath, brand new.
Now with the wire all pulled out, all we gotta do is pull out the green tape. And you can see the straight, perfect line it leaves behind. Perfect.
Well, let's go ahead and start getting these side panels put in.
Always love giving a vehicle back to its owner. But this 2017 Sprinter van is just a little something extra because Dave's just going to be that much closer to driving. So we're installing a swivel seat for easier access, new 24-inch wheels, and some red accents to match those wheels.
I haven't sat in the driver's seat in 16 years, man. And the day's here, so I'm pumped.
You know, a lot of people have their own style, their own customization, but here, you know, the customization just keeps evolving. There's not blueprints, there's not schematics to do what we do. Everything we customize here is specifically to that build. Two of the same cars could come in here, but when they both leave, they'll be totally different and totally cool. You know, that's why I like coming to work. That's why I love doing what I do, just to get tested. I get bored any other way. I gotta have the challenge. I gotta have the creativity, you know, to get in and create something with my hands, to make something just cool. You know, bolting on the same parts day after day, you know, that's cool, but that's not the definition of custom to me. You know, building it all back up with as many parts as you can by hand, that's the definition of custom. How you doing? I mean, it's always because we're giving this 2017 Sprinter van back to Dave, and I can't wait to see his reaction. Man, I know it's been a while. I know you've been waiting patiently.
When you're in this position, bro, that's the first thing you learn. Patience.
Are you ready to check this thing out? I know you guys are ready.
Yeah.
Ryan, bring it on in.
Oh my God, dude. Oh man, this is beautiful, dude. You gotta be kidding me, man.
Fine looking.
You gotta be kidding me.
That's what I was waiting to see. That's
you gotta
cool.
be kidding me, man.
What you think, man?
Bro, that is something else. Whoa, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, dude.
Oh man. It doesn't look like that delivery van anymore, does it?
Oh, no, sir. That's why I brought it to you, Bill. There is nothing you can't do. It's overwhelming, dude. Seriously, man.
Because at first it could not be done.
Oh, man. We did it.
You did it. You absolutely did it.
You guys ready to check this thing out?
I'm ready to open that thing up and let me check that ramp out because I know we got a ramp inside the thing, dude. Oh, my God.
Check it out.
Oh my God.
Man, buddy, that ain't just something you just bolt on either. We had to cut the whole floor of the van out, restructure everything, and then make everything mount back. So you have two sets of controls. One will control the airbags, front, up and down, back up and down. And the center button right there operates the ramp.
Check it out.
Check it out,
Check it out, dude.
That's it, man. You think you can work with that?
Absolutely, dude. My power chair is going to have no problem going up in there. I'm just really stoked.
It was a first for us also, and hope you like it, man. It's pretty sick.
You know, once you're up in there, we have installed a swivel seat on the factory seat there, so
awesome.
And added some handles on there, so you can spin that thing around from the back and get up in it and do what you need to do, man. Go on about whatever you want to do, all on your own.
Dude, I'm speechless, man. Speechless.
You know, of course, we had to add some cool wheels and tires, too. This had to be made specifically for this van. If we're going to have some made, we got to have some cool ones made, too, right?
Oh, yes.
You know, after all that was done, we couldn't have the delivery van look. We had to have this thing wrapped. You know, John and Jose over at Pixel Works came in with a brushed black.
Beautiful.
And, man, that just really sets it off.
I mean, I can't believe the job you've got. I'm surprised you named it in Copperfield, man, because it's magic, bro. It's magic.
I like to speak for all the guys at the shop. This is something special for us also. You know, not only a chance to do suspension on something that we don't normally do, a challenge of making the delivery van look cool, but to give you that independence back to really help you out in that aspect of your life. I mean, it's cool to be able to do for us also.
And that's what it's all about, is independence, buddy. I'm stoked, man. Ready to get in this thing and go down the road. You guys don't get it, man. For someone like me, to be behind the driver's seat again, or behind the steering wheel, it's overwhelming. I haven't been behind a wheel in 16 years, bro. 16 years, man. Oh, man, dude.
Man, you look good in there.
I feel good in here. I don't know what to say, man, but thanks.
Man, I appreciate that.
Tim, what up with it, man?
What you doing out rolling around?
I'm good, man. You know, I'm just cruising.
How's the car treating you?
Man, I'm loving it, man. You already know I'm loving it, man. Hey, look, all that small talk. Real reason why we here. We heard y'all was over here trying to outdo the Mac. That's the truth. Y'all trying to shut the Mac down.
Man, I knew Raymond didn't just show up to say hi. What's up, Tim?
We heard on the street they was up to something. We had a few words on the street that they've been working on something special over here. We had to come check it out. We had to come and check it out. I know Bill was up to something. They was too quiet, Ron. I knew it too, man. Real deal, Bill. Hey, what's going on around here, Bill?
What up, man?
Man, what are you working on over here, man?
What you up to, Bill?
That's it.
Look at him. That's a 40s Cadillac.
That's it. 49.
This is going to be crazy, man. I can't wait to see this, man.
You already know who it's for, huh?
Yeah. Earl Campbell, man. You know, we heard word on the street, so we had to pull up and see what was going on. Let me hit the club in this one.
So was this bad and slim? You know, this wasn't even a complete car when we got it. Man. It was just a body, a frame, crates of parts just crammed in.
Oh, you was going to rebuild it anyway, man. So it don't matter. You just that's what you do.
This is Earl's first custom car, so I really want him to just be impressed. You know, all around the bottom of this thing, all the sheet metal's all been gone through and straight. Built a new chassis from bumper to bumper on the front.
That's going to be mean, man. What kind of energy you got up in there?
Man, LSX.
Wow. What is he going to do with all that power?
Man, whatever he wants, right?
Earl Campbell like stuff big, you know, you're running back. He's running over people, you know what I'm saying? That's what it is. All over the city in that, man. That's crazy. I sure don't like that, though. Man. Hey, man, you put the V in there for the Cadillac? Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You see that, Slim? I see that. Sneak that V on. You see what they did?
One of the coolest things about this car is when you pop the hood, John fabricated all the panels inside the firewall.
He thought we didn't see that. Okay. You got to watch it, you know what I'm talking about? I seen that V right there. They wasn't going to even tell her. I like Earl a lot. Yeah. But I don't like Bill that might be trying to take us out. You know they going to show him extra love because who he is. I sure don't like that, man. That's cold, boy. That's all right. What color you going, Bill? Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Black on black. Yes,
you had to have it.
2 black legs back to back on the freeway.
That's gonna be nice.
That's gonna be nice, man. You know Earl gonna let you drive it.
Yeah, I sure hope he do.
I can't wait.
That'll ease the pain a little bit. You know, the next step's the interior on this thing, and we really got some custom touches for him.
Yeah,
it's really something special.
You hear that, Slim? Okay, well, they're not telling that part. You say secrets. Well, let me know if you don't like it. I might go back.
Yeah, we for sure set the bar on Slim's Cadillac. But stay tuned, because we got some stuff planned for Earl's that are going to go way beyond that.
We might keep out here to the street on y'all. Let's see what's
the trophy.
I don't know I did a good job when it looks like you can just dive into this paper.
This thing makes 627 horsepower and 586 foot-pounds of torque, so this thing's going to be a tire shredder for sure.
The old school 1934 Buick, and
yeah, a lot more power and a lot more reliability.
So we got us a little situation here.
The new old school.
What?
Yeah. This is very quickly becoming one of my favorite cars.
Whoa, wee.
I'm Bill Carlton. I built my first truck when I was 16. And ever since, me and my guys have been out here creating with our hands. Building the biggest, lowest, baddest custom trucks and cars in the game. People don't come here for what they need. They come here for what they want. This is Texas Metal.
Well, that hasn't been separated in a long time, huh?
It looks good. Everything's clean. All sheet metal looks pretty nice. You ready to roll it out?
Yep, let's go.
We're known for custom trucks, but, whatever rolls through the door, we're going to get our hands on it and give it a little extensive touch to it. And when we're building a 49 Cadillac for NFL Hall of Famer Earl Campbell, this guy's a living legend. So everybody in the shop's got to be on point and make sure this thing's going to be perfect. This car is special, and I'll say that about all of them, but this one's is definitely special.
I think it's your turn, buddy, to finish her.
I appreciate it, man.
It's been months of metal work and body work just to get to this point. When people see all the custom touches that are all throughout this car, they're gonna know it's Earl Campbell's. It's always a little bonus in the day when you get something major done, like just pulling the frame out, getting it cleaned up, getting it loaded off the powder coat. It's just a huge accomplishment. Considering how Earl's car came into what it is now, finally feels like we're getting something done. Thank you. Well, this thing is going to be a cool car. Earl, where's the first place you're going to take this car?
In Austin, Texas, there's a little hamburger joint. Been there since the 40s. I hang out there. That's where the cars meet on Thursday night. So that's going to be my first appearance in this 49.
All right, man. You make me hungry.
Yeah, I know. What's for lunch, burgers?
Earl, man, I'd really like to take you in the shop and show this thing to you at the stage it's at, but you've seen it in pieces enough. If you can bear with me, just wait just a little longer, I promise you, it's going to be extra special for you to see this thing totally finished.
I can't wait, Bill.
For the most part, Earl's just been leaving the design for the Caddy to us. But Earl called me a couple days ago, said he had some ideas for the color accents for the interior.
I'm going to tell you, man, I can't wait to see it. But when I was coming through town, I bought you some UT that I like that interior to look like. This is the real UT orange, what I used to wear when I was in college. And now, I don't need a number 20 on the leather, but everything else I would love for the inside to look like that.
So you don't want just us to get material to match this color. You actually want to use the UT jersey.
UT jersey, that orange.
In the car.
In the car. I got to have that orange in it.
Man, that's pretty cool. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just some touches all throughout. When you're building a car for Earl Campbell, you really want those touches to stand out. And putting these jerseys in the interior, this is definitely the way to go. Everybody's going to know whose car it is.
Oh, yeah. I feel like a junior high football player getting promoted to the varsity on that level.
We built a lot of cool cars and trucks around, but this is by far probably definitely my favorite one.
A 49 Caddy.
Yes, sir.
An orange interior. That's going to be great.
Man, we're going to make it happen.
You got it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Shock me. Knock me out of my socks, but I'm ready.
All right.
How's she looking?
It's looking real good. Considering, where it's at now to where it started with, night and day. Repairing the rust on this thing, rebuilding the floor, the drive shaft tunnel, transmission tunnel, building this car to the new chassis, to the new suspension, to the new engine, the LSX under the hood, man, this is going to be cool.
Just the hours that are in this area, much less the rest of the car.
There's definitely a lot of custom modifications to this thing, especially the firewall, to really get this thing looking like a car. When Earl pops the hood on this thing,
man, he's going to be so impressed.
For the new LSX, we're making custom intakes and exhaust, and it's wheels, tires, and brakes. As soon as we get this thing painted, we're going to get it over to interior for custom door panels, seats, console, and headliner. The stereo that's going in this thing, all the little custom accents. You know what you give a guy that has everything? 49 custom Cadillacs, that's what you give them. The only thing left to do is just paint it and then everything else. Let's start with just the paint.
Let's get it in the booth.
Let's get it pushed in there. All right, man. You got this?
Got this.
One of the things Earl wanted from the very beginning is black paint. And Chris is getting that thing going now.
We are going to make sure that we get enough paint on this car that any imperfections or whatever, we want them to be covered. We'll put as many coats as it takes to get this car as black as possible. I met Bill back when we were, in our teens. We were in a truck club here in Houston, and he started doing air suspension. He did some work on one of my trucks a long time ago. I think when I was 18. I did it for 15 years straight. It's fun to do. I enjoy it. I grew up watching Earl Campbell play football, and people are going to see this car, and whoever knows it and who don't know it, at least I'll know I painted it. I'll know I did a good job when I can tell that it looks like you can just dive into this paint job because the color is going to look so deep. Cadillac out of the booth, and now that it's painted and cleared, the next process is wet sanding and buffing. It has an orange peel texture, kind of leathery looking. That's why they call it orange peel. It looks like the peel of an orange. What we want to do is sand this down with our blocks of different sandpapers, get it slick as possible, and then we're going to come back and buff it to give it that nice mirror finish. The guys did such a good job on this firewall doing the bead rolling on it that I can't use this block on because it will burn the paint. When I say burn it, I mean sand through the paint. We have real problems if I do that. We'll block the flat areas with this block and sandpaper, and then we'll have to come back by hand and get around all the bead rolls with finer grit sandpaper. And I know where I can and can't go because, like I said, we do not want to burn this paint at this stage in the game. Okay, this is our last step in our wet sanding process. We've got 3,000 grit sandpaper on our DA sander. We'll run over this real quick and then we'll be ready to buff. And when we start buffing, that's what's going to bring out that mirror shine that we're looking for. You have to spend the time on it to make it as slick and smooth as possible, or when this thing's buffed, you'll be able to see every flaw that's in it. All right, we just completed the wet sanding, buffing, and polishing part of our firewall here, which is the final step in a paint job. The only thing we got left now is to do the whole rest of the car.
Most of the guys working here have spent their whole lives in Houston. John, is a lifer too. He just couldn't wait to get going on the interior. Because for guys like us, Earl's just a local legend.
I'm getting ready to start the door panels and the interior on Earl's Caddy here. So what I've done is I've just laid out some templates on the doors and the panels all the way in. Here, I got me a pencil, good eraser. We'll just sit here and figure out what we're going to make here and try to get everything incorporated in all at one time and get everything drawn out so we'll see the whole piece. We got the basic sketch down of where we're headed to, so now it's just a matter of how do we get UT in here. We don't want to make it overpowering. It needs to stay kind of subtle and just an accent in the car. So what we might do is put some sort of insert spot behind that. That might work.
after looking at the placement of where I've got this armrest in relation to the seat, it's going to have to move up. So I'm really happy with the shape that I have of the armrest. So I'm going to transfer that onto another piece. This is how these things work. You just sit here and stare at them and think about it a little while, and it'll come to you. It'll all make sense. And so I like to just sit here early in the morning, quietly, enjoy my coffee, and sketch. So all I gotta do is just lift it up and stick it to another piece of board. You just stick that down. I'll take an alpha knife, cut that out, and that'll give me my template to work with so I can put this wherever I want it at on here. So what I'm thinking here is armrest just needs to move up to about right there. That looks good. I like where we're headed with this.
Even though there was assembly lines back when Earl's 1949 Cadillac was made, you know, a lot of stuff was made by hand. There wasn't any robots. And we're taking the same approach from the metalwork to the interior.
You know, Earl showed up the other day, brought in some jerseys, wanted us to work these into the car somehow. So my thought here is to take and use those to create that Cadillac V and drop that in right here underneath these pillows. That'll look really cool. Just a nice pop of that burnt orange in the car without being too overwhelming. It'll turn out looking really cool. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out the rest of the seams on the seat. I'm going to start laying out the bolsters first. I got a template that I've already drawn out for that. Make sure I have everything lined up. I want the lines exactly where I want them. In the center, what we're going to do is we're going to draw out a 2-inch tuck and roll. It's just something that was used classically back in the hot rod days. It's basically they take and they roll the leather over and you tuck it in with some foam, and it actually makes these pillow tops. Just kind of keep it the old school feeling of the 49 Cadillac, and then we'll have that modern touch of this nice, hard, solid, shaped out pillow on the top here that still has that lean to the classic styles. All right. You know, everything in here has got a nice flow. We've still got that classic feel to it with the tuck and roll. I think this little pop of orange up here in the top for these V's is going to be, get them into the trim shop, and we'll get them covered.
Put the old school 1934 Buick Model 57 on hold because the owner wanted to figure out what kind of power plant he wanted to use. He ended up with the late Model 5.3, and now we're back at it.
Got it, huh? Got it.
This is perfect for this old Buick.
It always sucks to see a project get pulled off the lift, but I'm glad he made up his mind exactly what he wanted. Now we can move forward with the rest of the car.
I wasn't really feeling taking this thing apart. It was so pristine, you know, so original. You know, it was hard to cut into it, but we pulled out the stock straight 8 motor, ripping out the old suspension, and start building fresh, you know, get the steering all mocked up. I mean, this thing's going to be a new car all underneath once we're done, you know, especially with the new 5.3.
It just had to have a new motor and transmission in it.
Exactly, man. Power, reliability. He'll never have to worry about this for sure.
I can't wait to see this thing come together. It's going to be a really, really nice old school.
The new old school.
The new old school.
Out here today, and we're about to go drop the LS into the Buick.
The old school straight 8 is a lot wider than the straight 8. So once little one gets this thing in, we have to mock up a new steering configuration.
All right, just make sure that it doesn't hit the headlight or the paint.
Okay. Go ahead.
In?
Yeah.
This engine's pretty dirty, but when we're done with it, it's gonna look spotless.
Come in. Slowly, slowly. Watch the front bumper.
Yeah. All right, we clear?
Yeah.
Now, we get that angle under it, then we need one more in the front, and then we can go ahead and start moving it around. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now that we have the header mocked up and the engine fully on its own in the car, the steering has to be moved now too.
You know, the owner still wants to keep as much of that original interior as possible. So we're trying to keep the old steering column.
The key to work on these beautiful cars is you gotta do yoga at least once a week. Since I can't cut right outside on the firewall, we gotta take the ignition off, release the column, and pull it out without damaging this nice, beautiful interior. Beep, beep. That was Got it out.
Cool, man. You know, keeping the old column to fit the whole original interior in this is definitely the way to go about it. There's a problem with that, though. We don't have any way to adapt the original column to the rack and pinion that we're going to put underneath there. So we have an end of an old column. I want to graft this on to the original one.
All right.
That way we can adapt all this right to the rack and pinion, and everything will work right.
Right.
You know where to cut.
Got it.
Quick, easy, right? No, this just goes to show you there's something that wasn't even thought of when we set out to do this little project. But, you know, that's just what we do. We deal with them, keep on rolling.
Got that.
It's kind of like a Russian doll. Everything just goes in piece after piece after piece, and they're all gonna fit in perfect. Now it's time to put all the pieces together and make this custom 1934 2020 steering column. So this is not our finished product until it gets painted and fully installed, but now we're ready to mock up our rack and pinion. I gotta wash my hands because I do not want to get this interior. A while ago we were sticking all the way here, almost touching the header. Now we're right at the firewall, exactly where we measured, exactly where we wanted it to be. From here we can pivot around it and we can go straight into our rack and pinion that's going to end up being up there in the front.
Any measuring tapes. So we got us a little situation here. Our rack is way up there in front, like almost a foot in front of the engine. And with our column coming out like right behind the cylinder head, we need to detour our steering shaft around the exhaust header and then go back straight to the rack. So we have to make us like a two-piece steering shaft with the center U-joint mounted on a heim joint. We got to get this thing as close as possible to the header without touching. That way it doesn't put this U-joint in so much of an angle, which is going to cause hard spots in your steering. We have 3 U-joints. There's nothing to hold it in the middle. We got to support it with this heim joint. And what this is going to do is hold this shaft in the center from moving around and hitting the headers into the chassis. That way it'll support this from moving around. We got everything in place. Now we're ready to give this a rotation. Check it out. Man, this steers pretty good. I don't feel any hard spots. I think we got this set up pretty good. Now we definitely know this car's gonna steer in the right direction.
Definitely not going to make a lot of new friends with the Buick crowd cutting into this original 34 Buick. But we're still doing what we can to give this thing the respect it deserves. I have Edgar color matching the engine to the cab, and Matt's adding a super clean serpentine setup.
So now we got our motor in here. We're going to go ahead and start getting the front drive assembly on, the water pump, alternator, and everything that gets the motor running. So with this bracket here, it holds the water pump, the alternator, power steering pump. It allows everything to be more compact and gives us a lot more clearance, especially when a car like this, we barely have any clearance in the engine bay, so it tightens everything up and gives it a nice look. Now that we got our bracket on, we'll go ahead and mount our power steering pump up. We're still real tight on clearance, but it fits, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. Now it's lean, mean, and ready to be seen. Got it.
Yes, man.
Definitely a big improvement from what was in it.
A lot more power and a lot more reliability.
And it kind of looks like it belongs.
Yeah, it just looks right at home in this thing. Man, Matt, it's all downhill now, huh?
Yes, sir.
You know, there's so much room on the backseat of this 49 Cadillac that John has plenty of space to come up with a couple of one-off speaker enclosures.
what I'm gonna do to take up this space here is I'm gonna use it as a subwoofer enclosure. I'm gonna take my subwoofer, flip it upside down and downfire it into the pocket over here. Get a little back pressure loaded on the front of the subwoofer. It'll improve the sound a little bit. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'll start with the baffle of the box, and I can take that and I start building the walls of the box up and around and get the shape to it that I'm looking for. Figure out how we're gonna go about tying this whole big piece together. Let's start with the back wall that needs to be curved. Basically just cutting it every 1/4 inch, almost all the way through, and that'll allow it to bend and shape to the fender well just fine. So once I get my angle cut on it, I can go put it in the car and get it stuck. This enclosure is a little different than most of the enclosures that we build around here. It will actually become the interior trim panel of the car. It will make a top piece that comes out, but it won't come out all the way. It'll stop shy over here with some shape in it, and we'll bring it all back into here to go down. And this will turn into your armrest area up here. So when you're sitting in the back seat, you're in an armrest here, and this will all sculpt down towards the seat. In order for this material to make the shape that I want, I've made these ribs, and we'll put them around in a couple of places, and that'll give us something to attach our material to and start fiberglassing. Just gonna take a piece of this flex form carpet here, push this down in here. It'll take the shape that we want. We'll get it stapled down. That should be perfect. Now that we got that worked out, next thing we'll do is take some fiberglass resin, start piling it on here, and wait for it to get dry enough to touch so we don't get it all over the car. And once it's to that point, we're gonna put it back in the car, continue building our panels around it, get everything tied in. When you're building your custom panels like this, you want to make sure that you keep everything in consideration, keep things nice and tight so you have one nice cohesive flow through your entire panel.
Edgar painted the new LSX for Earl's 49 Cadillac. And of course, it's Texas Longhorn Orange. And we got our custom chassis back from Powder Coat. We're putting it all together with brand new air lines, brand new brake lines, all new stainless bolts, and of course, brand new Billy wheels.
Starting to look like a car now. Yeah, looks good with 4 wheels on it. Man, now you can actually see how the contrast is coming together. The little pop of the motor color is going to tie into a little bit of interior color. It's going to make the whole car a complete package. Man, this car is fit for Earl Campbell.
Definitely. I hope he'll let me borrow it one day.
When you're getting the body ready to put on the frame, it makes for a really, really good day. Seeing the big pieces, man, it gets me excited. This is very quickly becoming Iron Caddy is about to be born today. I sure be liking that chassis. You should probably set it down on there, huh?
Yeah.
Looking good.
Looks real good.
You know, these were the colors he was wearing when he won the Heisman Trophy. You gotta love this, right?
Right. Man, especially being his first custom car.
I'd be happy with this, my 100th custom car.
Made like a V?
Yeah, dude, it sure is. Just for this car.
With all the work we've done to Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac, there's still something missing. So I asked Justin to build a couple of custom downpipes.
Right here on Earl's Cadillac, we got the LSX 454 crate motor stabbed in there. This thing makes 627 horsepower and 586 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM, so this thing's going to be a tire shredder for sure. So we're going to go ahead and get our throttle bodies mounted up so we can start doing our charge pipes. We got these billet throttle bodies. They're twin 102 millimeter throttle bodies, so it's going to supply a lot of air to this big cubic inch motor. We have our aluminum mandrel bins. They're 3 new now. We can kind of see that there's a lot of room in the engine bay, so we get creative on this intake system. Well, since he went to UT and old Vivo over there, we're going to go ahead and do it where it looks like almost 2 horns in the center. 5 inches off of each horn. I marked 5 inches from the end of our tube so that both of our tubes match up, and I'm going to use the tape pretty much to connect the dots so that we have a good clean cut line to follow. Let's go cut some pipe. basically, since this is a big 454 cubic inch engine, we need to make sure that we can supply it with enough air to make that power. So that's the reason we chose the 3.5 inch dual throttle body setup. And we're going to try to put the filter placement where we're pulling good, clean, fresh air right in the front of the vehicle. So I like the way that the intake has that X pattern, so we're going to try to emulate that with our intake tubes. It's looking like we can take this 180-degree bend, split it in half, use that 90-degree angle, and it should put our pitch right exactly where we're wanting it. So now that we have all of our tubes cut, you can kind of see the direction we were talking about in the beginning where we wanted our placement of our air filters. And now that we have it with the tape kind of securing the 2 tubes in place, we can get it pulled off and go weld it up. So on this tube here, I'm going to end up welding it clockwise, coming around this way. And on this tube here, I'm going to come counterclockwise. Just going to give it one of those little small details that most people wouldn't notice, but, you know, to the ones that do it, they'll appreciate it. So we're going to go test fit them on a caddy, see how they look. If everything looks good, we can go ahead and pull them off and polish them. So now that we got everything wrapped up, everything's installed, see everything fits like we wanted, I think Earl will be real happy with this when he sees it.
After a lot of hard work and some tough decisions, this 1934 Buick's finally done. You know, I was really reluctant about cutting out all the old factory suspension, but once we got into it, that's what we do.
Bill called me and said the car was ready to come and look at it, so, I invited the guys, Silveranos Car Clubs of Houston. All my friends are here, their cars are here. We're all excited to look at the Buick.
What's going on, man?
See you, man.
Javier, how you doing, man? Good to see you. What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's up?
You got the whole crew out, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You know, after looking at your whole crew's cars, I can definitely see why you wanted to do what you wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, man. I got to keep up with them, so.
Yeah. Your Buick now, it'd definitely fit in with the crowd for sure.
Oh, I can't wait. All right. Hey, good deal, man. Man, she looks pretty. Damn, bro. Oh, my God. Good deal, man. Awesome. All right, man. Good job, man. Good, man.
Man, what you think about that thing?
Man, it looks good. Beautiful. I love the way it looks, the stance, the wheels.
You know, first things first, we got this thing on the lift and just started fresh with a new rear end, built independent front suspension for it with all air all the way around. That thing's going to ride good, handle good, and be reliable for sure.
Now you know why I asked you to do what I wanted to do, right?
You know, Javier, I got to admit, once this thing's down on the ground like that, man, it changes the whole look.
Yeah.
Definitely made the right decision for sure.
Yeah.
One other thing you wanted was the reliability and some power under the hood, right?
Right.
Let's check out under the hood.
How'd you fit that thing in there?
Started out ripping that old engine and trans out and just getting a pull-out 5.3, stripping it all down. Really dressed it up, make it look good. So when you pop the hood, you got something to be proud of.
Man, wonderful.
It was tough, but definitely worth it. We had to do a vintage air frame that's such a narrow frame in it. We had to custom make all the steering to get around the headers, and everything had to be one-off, especially because of the fitment.
The old engine looked like an antique. This is state-of-the-art. This car went from being real cool to real gangster.
You probably got 10 times the power that this thing came with. We'll see if you can keep some tread on these old cokers here.
All right, can't wait.
Taking a late model engine, sticking in such an antique car, you'd think it'd probably stick out. But all the work we put into this engine, making it look the way it does, it's like it was made for this car. What do you guys think, man? You gonna let this guy cruise around with you?
Yeah. I'm so happy now that I can just get in this car, start it up, and show it off. Thanks a lot, man.
You're welcome, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right.
You know, sometimes in this business, you really got to lean on your guys. You know, on the Caddy, we really had to lean on John. You know, he's really coming through. Every little detail he's adding is 100.
We'll get started on the rear deck for the 49 Caddy. We're going to start by cutting out our base out of MDF. We'll take that over to the car, get that in place, and start building it up from there. The back deck has a curve in it, so we'll make 2 pieces. I'm going to take some fiberall here and mix it up and use that to actually put these 2 pieces, especially with it being up here in the rear deck of the car. You know, that's
It takes a lot of heat up here. We want something that's really going to be able to stand up and not give us any issues. This will be the riser that'll come up from the rear deck that helps tie it into the back of the seats. All right, we got this thing all dried up, positioned, ready to go. So I'm gonna pop this thing out, take it across the way, put it on the table, we'll finish it out there.
You know, Earl Campbell's 49 Cadillac is just one of those builds where we're just making as many parts as we can by hand. Ryan's finishing up the custom exhaust on one side. Now he's mirror imaging it to the other.
The first side is always the easiest. Mirroring it is the hardest part about it. It's just a lot of marking, fine-tuning, a bunch of small cuts until you get that final exact perfect fit that we're looking for. And you know, it's easier to cut a little bit at a time than cut a whole bunch and then have to either add or go find another piece and start all over again. Well, the reason I'm putting the V-band here is because the muffler and all that, all the way to the header is all one piece right now, and one full piece. Houston, 40 degrees in the morning, 80 degrees at lunch. At this point, the exhaust is the most complex of it all because of this bin that I got right here and then just what I have to work with and just the limited amount of space. So trying to make this work and flow and not cause any restriction and also clear everything is pretty tricky, but hopefully I can get exactly what I'm looking for out of this and make it go all the way and jump out the back instead of stopping right here. Alright, so I didn't let it beat me. We were able to make it come all the way out to the back. That's gonna look tight from the back. Whenever you're driving behind it, see that? That's gonna look dope. So now all we got left to do is just make some hangers, drill some O2 bungs, weld it all up, and throw it back in the car. I think if Earl ever gets to take a look underneath this car, he should be very happy. I know I am.
What's up, man?
What's going on, Bill?
On this build, there was a lot of parts had to get chromed, but that grill, you know, that grill's something special. We had to make sure this thing shined. You got something for me?
Oh, yeah, I got something for you, buddy. I got your grill.
Man, that thing looks good, Victor.
Some 1940.
Dip this thing in chrome, but...
Yeah, I mean, well, you do it in 30 minutes. Nah.
You had to take the whole thing apart, huh?
The whole thing apart? Yeah. Okay, these 5 pieces right here, they're made of stainless steel. So you got to be careful with them, you know, when you polish them, you chrome plate them.
Yeah, and it's not just this either. Of course, you got such a good reflection. You look down here, you see everything up here. Yeah, so everything back here has to look just as good. Like that. Because this thing's pretty much a mirror now.
Yeah.
Victor, you sure this is the same one?
The same one, buddy.
This thing looks brand new. I think it's better new.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
Man, I appreciate it, Victor.
It's all yours, buddy. Just be careful now.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, a ton of interior work's been done to this 49 Cadillac, but there's still a ton more to go. You know, John's got his work cut out for him, building custom speaker pods, cup holders, and pockets. Man, these door panels are gonna be cool. So now I got the speaker pod and cup holder pocket all ground out in shape. The next component that I need to finish for the door panel is the armrest. So I'll just take my template here, just gonna trace it out. I'll come in and rough cut it, and we'll route it. Alright, got them all cut out. Next step to do, sand them down, glue them up, and then stack them. You just kind of come up with ideas in your head and then think of ways to execute your ideas. You know, the stacking method here is basically just to get a big chunk to carve out of, as you would any other sculpture, really. So the next thing you're going to do is got to put the hand pull in this thing. I've got a template here, so I'll have it for both sides. Trace it out. All of this in here is going to get carved out, so we have some place to put fingers, grab a hold of it, and close it. You know, Earl came in the other day. He had a challenge. He really wants to get this UT burnt orange color in the car. We're going to take this, cut it up, and wrap a few pieces. That will work. This is where all that body working and sanding really starts to pay off. You can actually start to see what you've made, see the final product. Everything starts to come together. You can see all your lines, your details. And if you don't put all that time and effort into it, when you get to this point,
it'll start to show too. All right, well, that's a wrap. Only thing left to do now is get it on the car and get the speakers in it and get everything buttoned up, and this thing will be ready to roll.
I love working on Cadillacs because that's just the car of the industry.
It's one of those cool cars that was always fun because they were the luxury of the time.
Cadillac rolls in here.
We're all fighting to work on it.
I hope I get to work on it.
John knows with that Cadillac, he can put 15 speakers in the trunk. You know you can make it as low as you want and make it go as fast as you want.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be the porter and drive around the parking lot. I mean, that's what I want to do. Of course, we did the 59 for Slim. We cut the roof off, made it a Roadster.
Night and day difference in that
just
car.
doing the windshield wrap around on that car.
Yeah, stretching the back out, moving seats that far back to make room for
That's
him.
one thing Cadillacs always had, is plenty of room.
Nothing said America like Cadillac.
As American as...
apple pie. They'll keep making them. We'll keep customizing them. People keep eating them.
I can remember being young and my dad watching Earl Campbell just killing people every week. He just rooted for him, every time he played. When people hear now that we're building a car for Earl Campbell, you hear all the stories of how good a player he was and just how he dominated everybody on the field. Every step of the way on this 49 Cadillac, Earl's been an inspiration to us. The consistency, that's what we were going for in building this Cadillac. So today it's an honor to give Earl his car back. The 49 Cadillac is something I'm very proud of, and every guy in the shop is proud of. I'm kind of jealous, man. This is a cool car.
Hey, Tim, you can't tell me anything about this car, man.
Man, I don't want to tell you anything. I want to keep it a surprise for you till Bill gets here. One thing I will tell you is it's all in one piece now. All them buckets it showed up in and records that it showed up on, it's in a whole lot better shape than what it was.
Earl came all the way from Austin to Houston just to see this car we built for him. The last time you seen it, it was in thousands of pieces. I can't wait to show it to him now.
How you doing, Bill?
Man, what's going on?
I'm here to see that bad 49 Caddy. Oh, yeah, man.
Man, you saved me just in time. You've been picking my brains wanting to see this thing.
What do you think, Earl? I know you've been waiting a while. You ready to see this thing?
I'm ready. I can't wait, Bill.
Man, Timmy, let's do it.
Here she comes.
It was fun building this. This is something we're all super proud of for sure.
Come on, man. Hurry up. Let's get this car uncovered. Look at that. Whoa, man. That is great.
What you think, Earl?
Golly, Bill. When this car first got here, that paint job, that black. Man, that bumper, that's a hell of a lot of chrome.
There's plenty of black and plenty of chrome on this thing.
Oh, man, that's great.
Man, Earl, it's a huge challenge to make, parts in the parking lot into a car looking like this. We first started off getting this thing on the lift, doing rust repair. Getting a car this old, this straight, and the gaps right on this, the body guys, that's showing their skills right there. A 49 Cadillac don't come like that. You make it like that.
Yeah, especially when the panels come in the back of a truck all thrown together, just thrown in that truck.
Come on, man. You guys don't let me forget that, huh?
Especially black. Looking down the side of this thing is laser straight.
Man, that is beautiful.
Building a chassis on this thing, Earl, motor mounts, new rear end, new front suspension, air suspension, so this thing lays real low to the ground too. Every nut, bolt, everything is 100% brand new. You have a brand new 49 Cadillac.
Just to see it all put together, I was amazed. I mean, the chrome on it, the lovely lady on the front. I mean, I just can go on. I just couldn't believe it.
Earl, you had a couple stipulations. You wanted this car to be some power under the hood.
That's right.
We got something for you under there.
Let's see. Good nurse.
Earl, you said you wanted some power under the hood in this thing. The 454 LSX is the one for it.
And burnt orange.
Yep.
That's great, man.
Building all new firewall in this thing, all new sheet metal molded onto the fenders, new core support. John came in and just bead roll you a nice, cool panels in there. It's got the little Cadillac V recessed down in it.
On the wall, man. It's unbelievable.
You know, Earl, when Justin was making the air intakes of this, he took a design cue from, UT mascot Bevo, kind of replicated the Longhorn on the
Yeah, sure, you kind of see that's an entrance.
One of your honors in life was the Hall of Fame, so we wanted to make you a medallion here to hold the two pipes together. John machined us a deal. This is 1991 Hall of Fame with a little football on it.
There's no mistaking whose car this is.
That's right.
Let's check out the interior of this thing.
Wow.
Man, last time you seen this thing, there was just piles and piles and piles of parts for the interior on this thing, right?
Yes, man, it's got the burnt orange on the door.
Man, we know you had to have that UT orange. And sewn them into the interior itself. All this is handmade by old John Burgess himself.
Yes, they did a great job.
It's got you a little something special back there in the rear deck as well.
Yes.
You get the little Longhorns incorporated in the back, all the way up into the Dakota Digital gauges.
Now, there's some special numbers in your life of what you've been through. So 20, you were a Heisman at UT.
That's right.
34, you were a Houston Oiler, and then 91, you went to Hall of Fame.
That's right. There's no doubt everything in this car says Earl Campbell. I mean, they went out of their way and beyond. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. Oh, man. Yeah, breathe. That's down in the dirt.
That just changes the whole attitude, right?
Yes, sir. When you see that 49 Caddy sitting up, that's one thing. But when you see it go down all the way in the grass, that's bad. You got a 49 after that.
I try to make this thing as comfortable and as cool for you as possible. It's got 24x9s in the front and 22x12s in the rear.
I never seen a rim like that before. That's one of a kind. I love it. What a beautiful car.
I like your car, man.
I'm really happy it's mine. I'm happy it's mine. Thank y'all very much for what y'all done. You and your team should be very proud.
The whole process from start to finish, it took some time. It was a labor of love for every guy. I can't thank my guys enough. And this is just one more example of us just